Likes It, Episode 5. Today we're looking at the Speed Queen SCN LCFX series. Like older models, this machine has a heavy-duty steel frame. They actually beefed it up a little around the drum supports compared to the older models. They improved the door lock for this machine. I do like the original door lock on the MD2, but for this model here, they did away with the button on the door. You just turn it. They added bushing here so that it's not just metal grinding on metal, and this tapered piece here is a guide pin that lines up here, so even if your door hinge were to start to sag, when you shut the door, the guide pin will line it up and help pull the door into position as it shuts, rather than just tearing metal into metal as the older MD2s tend to do right there. They use the same door switch top and bottom, which is nice. Like the MD2 uses two different switches. And they have the door lock solenoid lined up to go straight through the latch mechanism without rubbing. Whereas the older models, they're offset and you have this spring-loaded guide here, and it tends to bind once in a while. They improved the entire soap dish and siphon break setup on this machine. Everything flows down nicely on this model here. They did away with the fill hose here that went into the drum. The older models have a hose that clamps to the soap box and the drum here. These were pretty good. They didn't leak very often. Then they switched it to one that pushed straight through the drum, and you have to seal those. They all tend to leak. So the one without the fill hose there is a huge improvement. The siphon brake itself in the back, compared to the older ones like this guy here, these ones are a lot more resistant to leaking. Like, they don't leak through seams. Everything flows nicely from the soap box straight into this. Everything fills through this one hose into the drum there. Alliance also improved the bearing housing for this series. One, they tend to last a lot longer. They have a better seal on the inside. And then if you're going to do a bearing job on your own, these are much easier to deal with than the older style here. These are generally a two-person job, whereas this one you can easily press the drum out, unbolt it from the front and here, and just lift the housing out all by yourself. These motors here are much quieter than the older two-speed motors, much lighter, a lot easier to get out by yourself. It's nice having an adjustable tensioner here. You can actually just put the motor and belt in and then set the tension, unlike the older ones where you kind of have to manhandle the belt on and off, and the spring tension is what it is. The controls on these machines they're simple to operate. It's not very hard to figure out what's wrong, but it's all pretty much tied into two main boards here. Like, you have your central output board and your accumulator board and your VFD for the motor with a single contactor. So if you have more than one of these machines, it's very easy, if it's not working, to just swap the main boards, see where the problem goes, and then send your board out for repair. The only downside is repairing or replacing one of these boards is a little expensive compared to replacing, say, a single component on the older machines. The last thing I really like about these compared to the older ones is the way the lid fits on. You can see, like, the old machines have a hinge in the back there. Then they switched over to the ones that use the tabs here, but all of those still just latch at one center point in the front, and then you get the whole lid tends to pivot a little on you. But on these ones here, they put 2 points that the lid slides onto and catches, so that you have the whole lid held nice and firm and it locks in the center.